Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
And I'm getting higher and higher every
Yes, you
time,
are.
and I've already reached the peak as to how high I can go.
Sure, that's not as high as you can go.
Oh, well, I'm not going to do it on the podcast. Anyway, every single question from today's question and answer episode is from
The WhatsApp community.
which you can join down below. There's a link in the description to this podcast episode. It's free. Why wouldn't you? You get the links directly to your phone every single time they drop. And importantly, when it comes to these types of episodes, you get submission priority when it comes to your question and answers. Every single question, Hayden, from today's episode, just like last week, was from our lovely listeners in the WhatsApp community. So join if you want to get involved. You're actually going to join in with some question asking this week. That's
Look,
interesting.
I'm going to do one.
Go on then.
I'll do the first one. After that, I think I'll be a bit fatigued. You can take it away. Is that all right?
Sure, yeah,
Fair
go on,
enough.
go for it.
Okay, it's a fairly long one, so, I'm doing the bulk of the reading here today. How do you deal with not gelling with a teacher? I am a one-to-one TA for 2 kids in a year 1 class, and the main class teacher is very passive-aggressive. If I say anything positive about the kids, either one-to-one or other kids, it's met with eye rolls and a stare. Even the kids are picking up on it. It's my first TA job, and the teacher in question has over a decade experience and has a big following on social media. Ooh. So I don't want to rock the boat too much, but unsure if I can take it anymore. I love the job, otherwise, and SLT and Senko seem to be happy with what I'm doing so far. Any tips? Appreciated.
Well, firstly, feedback on your reading. It was good until halfway. You started stumbling over basic words. So not bad. I'd say working towards the expected standard.
That's all right.
Not bad.
Working towards.
Yeah. Secondly, just as a side note, made me laugh at the start of this. I'm a one-to-one TA for 2 kids. I was like, that just sums up.
I didn't even notice that.
That sums up the education system right now, isn't it? It's like these kids need a one-to-one. So what we've got is one adult to one kid, and then another kid, and then another one, and then another one. It's like just not enough money to go around. So firstly, any one-to-one TAs out there, like the person sending this in, you are quite often doing God's work because you are given unofficially a one-to-one to kind of tick up a box for what a child desperately needs, but you're not necessarily remotely supported in that, and you might be given multiple children to do one-to-one. It's just such a weird paradox we've got there. But anyway, I found this question really interesting for a few reasons. I'm sure we'll come on to the social media thing in a minute. I thought maybe she was describing you until I knew that you quit and not done year 1.
That's a bit sneaky.
But what I thought was a really, really, really interesting point here, and we get this a lot actually, is what about if you just simply don't get on with a member of staff that you have to work with?
Yeah.
And I feel like this kind of transcends school a little bit, but I guess the point here is it is a problem when the kids start to pick up on it. I think you don't have to like and get on with everyone who you work with. It's literally impossible.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a certain level of professionalism where even if maybe you don't get on with a person, you have to just get over it and just get on with it.
Of course.
And what I'm saying here is more to the other person in this respect. If you're being a bit arsey with them, rolling your eyes, huffing and puffing, and the kids are picking up on it, I think this TA is well within their right just to go to their line manager and just say, look, I feel this way. I think this is happening. Like she said here, I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly doesn't want to make a big issue of it, but it does get to a point where if you're feeling undermined in the classroom, that I think, you can open a conversation about it and just say, look, I'm noticing this, maybe drop in and see, and we'll notice if behaviors change at all, but I think it's worth bringing up.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's even maybe a step before that, and this does depend on who you are as a person. Like some people will be like, nah, there's no way I'm doing this. And other people, do you know what? Just a bit of bravery maybe of just having that conversation with the person as well. If you think you can, then it might be a situation where you think, no, I need to just go to my line manager. This is not the right environment. I don't know exactly. But there are situations where I think you can just say, do you know what? I'm not going to escalate this too much yet. I'm going to give this person a chance. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just going to have a real human adult conversation with them and say, look, I've noticed this happened a few times, and you're not being, you're being as polite as possible to not invoke anything else. I've noticed this happened a few times. You've rolled your eyes. I've noticed the kids are noticing it. It's making me feel a bit awkward. Is there a problem? Is there anything I'm doing wrong in the classroom that you'd like me to work on, or is it something that I don't know about? I just want to open that conversation because obviously I want us to get on really well because we're here for the kids ultimately, and we should have a professional relationship. And I just want to make sure you're not being shitty. Maybe don't say that bit, but like. And I think I would start there most of the time, but I can definitely imagine some situations where I'm like, nah, I'm not having that conversation with this person because of the way they've been behaving. I'm just going to go and speak to someone else.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it's your first TA job. Like, it's the first time you've been in the school. It isn't normal. I'll say that now. It's not normal to have your teacher huffing and puffing and kind of undermining you, especially if you're praising the children. I think that's a shame. But yeah, I think most people, for example, let's just say I did this by accident even to my teaching assistant, and I really didn't mean to be doing it, but maybe that's just the way I was coming across. I would appreciate a teaching assistant coming to me to talk about it.
Yes.
And at least then I think maybe I'd feel personally attacked for a second. Maybe I'd get my back up immediately because that's just a natural reaction as the teacher in question. But I think like in the long run, I'd really appreciate that open dialogue.
Yeah.
Because I'd feel like if you felt that way in my classroom, I'd want to know about that because I don't want you to feel that way. Obviously, I don't want the children to feel uncomfortable. I don't want the staff at all to feel like they're treading on eggshells around me whatsoever. So yeah, I think opening up a dialogue, it's a really powerful way of doing that. The other part of this was, a big following on social media and stuff.
I know, yeah.
And I don't know. I guess we're leaning into, I've no idea who this is at all. I'm not remotely trying to say it's this person or that person, but I do find it interesting. It leans into, for me, that social media kind of outward presentation of life, and it not necessarily always representing maybe what you're like as a person to work with, and what your reality is. And I can just imagine for a second, if teachers at the start of their career, especially, or if they're training, go online and see all these posts from creators, they will start to form a view of teaching before they even experience it. And we're guilty of this as well. I think like we're guilty of it both ways, where we might say, oh yeah, this is a toxic thing to think about. Oh yeah, make sure you have your back up and ready here and to defend yourself. Lots of people will go into schools where you don't need to do that.
Yeah, and they'll never have to experience that anyway.
They will never have to experience it. And I guess we're molding their opinion of teaching before they even get into it. And that can be problematic for sure. I'd like to think anyone who listens to our actual podcast or more than a minute of our content online would realize we are quite balanced, I think, in what we say. Yeah. But yeah, just throwing it back over to you. From your experience, because you're not really in the social media world too much, what's your kind of view and opinion of the teacher sphere online? Like, do you think it gives an accurate representation of the job, or does it glorify it? Does it glamorize it, or does it make it feel like it's worse?
I don't think it is very accurate. And the only reason I think that, and I guess I can use us as a bit of an analogy here, is if you think about even the clips we put out, right? The ones that do well, it's kind of not up to us what does well. Like, obviously, we can limit it. Make good content is obviously a thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, all the toxic clips are getting really pushed. And now the average Joe who's just maybe stumbling across a few of our clips is always seeing us talk about toxic SLT and thinking, oh, cool, so schools are really toxic to work in, leaders are horrible. So no, we don't think that. We actually don't think that at all. And actually, it's just that the other clips didn't really get pushed, and you haven't listened to our long form podcast where we talk about it more. I think that happens on the sort of global scale. You just see what social media pushes sometimes. I think that alone is already bad enough in terms of not giving you a proper representation. But also, creators, obviously, are going to play up to what gets likes, what gets engagement, because that's part of what you're doing. Like, you're making content for social media. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's the perfect representation. I know there was that time, and maybe it's still happening. I don't know. I feel like people had a name for it where it was like toxic positivity.
Oh yeah.
Where it was always like, people were showing off the most unreal expectations of like, oh yeah, this is how you can be a good teacher. Just do these things with your displays and do these things at home and make these little things, and then the kids will like you. And it's like, whoa, I tell you what, people are going to be feeling rubbish about themselves when if they think that every teacher is doing this. I feel like that was an era on social media where everyone was like, oh, can we just bring this down to like realism for a bit, So,
and that's what we tried to do, and then we get rinsed for being negative all the time. So you can't win. So yeah, the social media game, you really can't win. But what you've got to do is just be true to yourself, I think, as much as you can. Yeah. And I do think, sometimes what people put out there is it's never real life, is it? Let's be real. Even the most realistic version of what you see in social media is still curated.
Yeah, they still picked the one take out of 7 good takes across the day they want to use.
They still took their phone on the tripod into their classroom with a ring light, put it up, set it up, turned the light back off, walked out of the room, then walked back in again as if they're walking in for the first time, catching them walking to their classroom. It's all fake.
That's what we do, and I have nothing against that. Yeah. That is just how you make content. It's just what you do. But so you just need to realize.
Wait. We'll do our call back in a second. 1 second, just going to set my tripod. Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not real. It's not real, I'm afraid. It's just take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, open up that dialogue. I think that's really
definitely.
important.
With this, just going back to this person here, you're in a tough situation. It's not nice. It probably will make you, it feels personal. I would recommend, if you can, have an actual conversation with that person. They'll hopefully appreciate you not going straight to your line manager. But if you don't feel like that's appropriate, then obviously do actually go to your line manager and have that conversation, because it needs to be sorted. It's not acceptable. It's not professional. So yeah, it can't just go on.
Okay, next question. Favorite year group to teach?
Very good question. I will admit, in my 10-year career, I have only taught 2 year groups. I very much just went back and forth between year 4. I did year 4, then year 6, then back to year 4, and then I spent the last 5 years of my career in year 6. I got trapped. People often say the year 6 trap. Once you're there, it's hard to get out.
So which one did you prefer? Do you want to answer the question or just one about your
I'm
career?
just thinking, actually, Dylan. I'm
it's fine. Just
forming my thoughts on these 2 year groups.
It's fine. Answer a question you want me to ask you rather than one I actually
My answer is the 2 best year groups are year 4 and year 6. And I was like, that's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? I think I prefer year 4. If I had to pick between those 2, I would pick year 4. And I do genuinely think that is the best year group. I think, particularly when you work in a junior school, which we've always done. Year 3, I'm like, it's the start of Key Stage 2. And if you're in a junior school, they are like new at the school. I'm like, I don't want to be doing that. Way too much work. Year 6, the other end, it's really, really nice. Like in terms of the kids' maturity and like just having a genuinely like funny moments with the kids, it's like absolutely peak for that. But the SATs does kind of just ruin everything completely in terms of like the pressure and stuff that it puts on. Year 5, it's the one before year 6, and they often get put under a lot of pressure, I think, to get the kids like SATs ready, even though it's not that year group yet. Whereas year 4 is like that sweet spot. The kids are just a little bit older. They're not still like in year 3, they're a little bit babyish. Year 4, they've got a bit of personality coming through. They're funny. The pressure's off. I feel like you get left alone a lot more in year 4. And you can just have such a nice year. Now, you spent most of your career in year 4, didn't you? So I'm wondering if you're also going to pick year 4 here.
I did. Out of my 9 years, one less than you. Fine. Out of my 9 years teaching, 6 years were in year 4.
Yeah.
I did 1 year in year 5. No, sorry, I did 2 years in year 5 and 1 year in year 3.
Year 3, yeah.
So I did 3, 4, and 5 across. 4 is absolutely my favorite as well. 5's underrated a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
It's just slightly problematic. They just become closer to teenagers. Sounds ridiculous. 4 is that sweet spot of their pure innocence and like love for learning is still there, like without you even having to do much. You just have to be like a nice room to be in for the kids, and they are there with you all the way. But like old enough to kind of get a few more jokes, a bit more sarcasm. 4 was amazing. 5 was good though. I did really enjoy year 5. Year 3 again, I did it in a junior school, and you just lose the first term. You lose the first term to kind of just embed in your routines, getting them to just behave the way you want them to behave because it's brand new for them, getting them used to the school, getting them embedded in the culture. I remember before I moved to year 3, my year 3 colleagues would say things like, "Oh my God, it literally took half my maths lesson for them to set up their maths book," and I would always be like, yeah, all right, that's funny. You're clearly exaggerating though, but okay, yeah, bloody year 3, you're going on about that again. I went to year 3. Oh my goodness me, it took half the lesson for them to write the date. And the Lego.
I've not been in it, and I don't believe you.
I know, and I wouldn't believe me if I was you in this situation.
What do you mean it took half an hour?
I promise you, I just don't know.
Well, writing a letter a minute?
Literally, because like half the kids are not even just sat in their seat. The other kids, they're wandering around doing something. So they can't use a ruler to do a margin. They can't write things down. They can't underline stuff. I promise you. God. Like, let me be really realistic now. Let me think about it. Like half, maybe even is too much. But it genuinely, I remember looking at the clock and thinking, "Oh my goodness, it's actually taken 25 minutes from them like the start of the lesson, to them being ready to do the lesson because their books all set up and we know what we're doing and stuff." I promise you, promise you. And it was just like, I couldn't believe it, and I was like, okay, it's real.
And that's year 3.
Yeah, well, and again, I do think it being a junior school doesn't necessarily help because you just have different routines and expectations, and maybe they didn't even do that at all ever until they're in year 3, potentially, and there might be good reason for that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying the fact is it definitely took that long. And we're Key Stage 2 heavy because I've always worked in junior schools. You've mostly worked in junior schools. So when we're saying our favorite year group, I think 4 is really good when you're in the Key Stage 2. Talking about early years in Key Stage 1, I think all we can briefly talk about is how I have no desire to go and do it. And I have the utmost respect for people in Key Stage 1 and early years. I think it is exhausting. I did a bit of training in year 1, I remember. And it's the most mentally exhausted I've ever been. And even the payoff of maybe there's less marking down there, it almost was like, oh man, I'll take the bit of marking.
Yeah, genuinely.
Because I am done in at the end of the day.
Is that it then? I want to dig deeper into this. Like, is that the only reason that you wouldn't do Key Stage 1? Is it just the fact that it's just too mentally exhausting, or is there more to it?
I'm being really dramatic because actually, do you know what? I would actually try it. And I remember we went around to school as maths leads, and we had a tour of a school, and we were having a maths meeting after, but we had like a tour, and it was a through school. We went into a nursery, and we saw the little kids, and I remember being like, oh my God, they're so sweet, they're so lovely, but it's just intense. There tends to be more adults down lower in the school, which kind of shares a bit of that burden. But I just think like I'm going to leave the experts to that because they've got, like I said, continuous provision in place. There's play going on. It's a whole lot of learning that's really good for the kids that I don't really feel expert in. I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to stay in my lane. You crack on because you're doing a fantastic job. I'm not even necessarily completely against it, to be honest with you.
It's the expert thing, isn't it? I think that summarizes, because I always thought to myself, why do I not want to teach in Key Stage 1? Am I just like, what is the reason? Because I was like, I clearly have a preference for teaching slightly older kids, like year 4, 5, 6. Why? Because I love teaching, and in my opinion, teaching is like more pure the lower you get. And so like teaching a year one to read like letters and words and showing like the underpinning basics, foundations of maths.
Yeah.
You're getting to take them from not knowing anything about it to understanding that how addition works and counting and all the different ways. I was like, that is like an amazing part of teaching where I feel like I should love that. But the thought of going to be a year one teacher, I'm just like, no, that's rough. That's tough. And I think that's what it is. It is literally just that. I spent my career in Key Stage 2. The longer I was in it, the more I felt like this is my thing. This is what I'm good at. And the more I felt like I would be an imposter if I went down into year one. If I did, I'm sure after a year you'd get used to it. You'd feel like you're good. But right now I'm like, oh no, I couldn't do that because it's a different job. Yeah. It's just not even the same thing. Like that pedagogy is like, okay, cool. We're all teaching.
But holistically, it's just anyone who says it's the same is like, it's just not. It's just not. Like, and if we're thinking about continuous revision and play being more weighted to being important down those year groups, it's completely different to what I'm used to doing. Yeah. Like, that is completely different to what I'm used to doing, whether that's right or wrong. I just don't have the expertise in that to do it. Yeah. And I suppose the only thing I will say is for me, it's the same going upwards as well. In secondary school. I just think to myself, I'll let you do your thing up there. I'll let you do your thing down there. I'll stick to year 4 where there's no end of year assessment that goes to any kind of data. There's just a times table check, which we just practice anyway. All good. Give me year 4 every day of the week.
Same. I think so as well. Right. Next question. Would you ever want to be on a show like Educating Yorkshire? What's your opinion on shows like it? And do you think it's positive for the teaching community?
Well, Hayden, I've been on TV quite a few times. Actually. Yeah, quiz show. I think Educating Yorkshire, I've not watched it this first time round because it's gone back, hasn't it? It's got a lot of the same, I think it's the same school maybe, but it's got some of the same teachers who are in different roles now. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to get people like seeing what's going on in our schools. I think that is a positive thing. And for me personally, I've actually read a review of Educating Yorkshire this time around before I even watched it because I was just interested to see how it was being received. And the headline of the review was, in a world of schools being bashed and the next generation being seen as useless and they're just in front of the screen constantly and they're never going to have anything to do with the real world. Oh my goodness me. It was basically saying this is a show that really celebrates the next generation and really portrays them in a nice way. And I was like, fantastic. Because that's the main thing I'd want to be getting out of a show like this. Sure, the teachers are going to get a bad rap almost all of the time. Like it's just what's going to happen. I like the fact shows like this can show the hard work and dedication and love for their students that loads of teachers genuinely have and how hard they work to give the best possible outcomes for these kids. And I always think back to that famous video of the child with the stutter.
Yeah,
and the teacher who worked with this child to be able to speak, and by the end came up with a solution when he was speaking to the whole assembly. And I was like, oh my God, that is teaching. That's why it's the best job in the world. And any kind of show that can highlight that, I think is a really good thing. And you have to highlight the bad stuff as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about shows like Educating Yorkshire. It just has to be realistic. And there are always going to be some people who look at a show like that and say, that's not realistic. My school was much worse. And there are always going to be people who look at it and go, that's not realistic. You're just bashing the next generation. The kids aren't really like that. My kid's fine. It's like, okay, this is when you kind of probably know you've made a good show. If you're annoying people on both extremes, it's like, well, you probably give it an accurate representation of what's going on. So my gut with a show like Educating Yorkshire, which follows the trials and tribulations of just everyday school life, I think it's a good thing. And would I want to be on it? If I was still teaching and it was said, we're thinking of doing this, I honestly would be like 50-50 about it, because part of me would be like, I've just explained why I think it's a really good thing to have for the public, and the other part of me would be like, but would it just negatively affect the kids and what I'm fully focused on, which is their development and education? Would having a film crew in the classroom every day for 2 months be a good thing?
Yeah.
No.
Do you reckon they would cull the show as well once you're on it, after they realise you go into your cupboard every 10 minutes for a Whisper Gold? Like, how many packets of crisps can you get free before they go, I don't think we can film this guy?
Teacher exposed.
He's not really
eating every 5 minutes in lessons.
He's not really representing what we want to represent in this show. But it's real, isn't it? It's real. I don't think it is. I don't think many teachers do this. I don't think they all go into the cupboard like this and eat all these crisps.
No, and then it'd be you doing blow dart maths with your meter sticks. Like, is this normal?
They'd be like, this guy, he gets the kids. He makes learning fun, not the crisp guy.
Not the crisp guy.
Cut him out.
Man has become Mr. Crisp.
Yeah, that's interesting though. I never really watched much of that show. I remember when it came out, I watched a bit then.
I think you were doing 20 hours a day of Minecraft at that point.
Yeah, probably something like that.
RuneScape or something like that.
Probably just engaging with the kids at school, working really hard at home in the evenings and making lessons, all that sort of stuff.
What's your instinct on that kind of thing then? As someone who hasn't really taken in that content.
I just think as long as it is realistic, I think then it's going to be a good thing. And especially when you just said it was prefaced with basically, here's loads of positivity about school and how it can be a really good thing. I'm like, okay, well, that's a good start. If it was a show that was like biased towards exposing rubbish teachers and how
a podcast maybe that was biased towards exposing awful toxic SLT, that would be worth consuming, would it?
No, because we're fair. We've established this. We give all representations. Whereas if the show was very much just like we're just trying to like
bash teachers,
bash teachers and
show
how bad school is for kids now, and it's like, that probably isn't a good. We don't really need that in this climate, I suppose.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, I mean, I can't see Mr. Stevens being a star of the show. I'm sorry, I just can't see it.
Well, I can.
Okay,
so
we'll try it. Maybe get a wig.
Disagree.
A wig?
A wig? Do you think?
Yeah,
do you think that's important?
Cool hair. I think that's really important. Yeah,
I don't know.
To the future of our next generation.
Don't know about that.
Next question. What 3 things do you think should be added to teacher training, which currently isn't or isn't done in detail enough?
Wowzers, that's a really good one.
Are you going to answer one of my questions without saying that's a good question?
No, I actually like to think about questions rather than just giving a off-the-shelf rubbish answer. So, yeah, whilst I think about
it's like Jimmy Carr when he gets heckled. He's like, what?
Yeah, and he repeats it back.
Yeah.
Sorry. Say it louder. So, what 3 things should be added to teacher training?
I don't know. Your mum. That's what he does.
Normally does.
It's thinking.
Yeah. Well, he's got deep recently, hasn't he?
He has on some podcasts. Have you got an answer yet?
No. I was hoping you'd come in with your answer that you've obviously pre-planned.
Not pre-planned anything. I can just think.
You can think on the spot, can you?
Yeah.
How about you just start then? Don't put me on the spot.
Maybe. Yeah. You can keep thinking. You keep thinking.
What
you can do is I'll say mine. You go, that. Let's do that.
I'll repackage it.
Huge thing for me. If I think back to when I just qualified as a teacher, one of the parts of the job I thought I was massively under-equipped was noticing things like dyslexia in children. Those kind of, my child might have ADD or my child might have this or that. I absolutely was winging it. I was like, do you think my child has dyslexia? I was like, mate, I'm a 22-year-old, just come out of my 1-year PGCE, and I got about 5 minutes of training on dyslexia. Yeah. I don't know. Like, the extent of my dyslexia knowledge was, do they get their B's and their D's modeled up? Genuinely.
Yeah, and
I would just be, I literally don't know. So I think a huge thing for teachers training is at least even having the means at the time to be like, I have a basic understanding that's better than it currently is. So I think you need to go into more detail in training, but then also training to say, this is how you go about it. This is how you go about finding this out. This is how you go about going down the right routes to get a child diagnosed, or this is who you go to. Like, obviously I knew to go to my Senko. Like, I obviously knew to do that. But in the moment, like talking to an adult, a parent, I felt like very much like a fraud. And I think equipping teachers with more knowledge of spotting these things, not necessarily diagnosing, of course you can't do that, but the ability to say, oh, actually, I'm seeing some signs of this in this child. I'm seeing some signs of that. I think that can be heightened.
Yeah.
Because I definitely felt under-equipped if I think about going back to the start of my career.
Yeah, that's my one as well. That's me. I was actually thinking just exactly that one. Exactly. No, but just on your point about that, I do remember like just genuinely not really even knowing what it was. Yeah. I know you said, B's and D's. Like, I didn't even know. Someone was like, oh no, I remember saying one time, oh yeah, I think there might be some dyslexia. No, this child's dyspraxic.
Right.
And I was like, winging it at this point, thinking, cool, I look a fool now because they're clearly different things, and I have just thought that one is that one, and it's just embarrassing, isn't it, when you don't actually know anything about it?
Yeah.
So for me, I was trying to think like when I started, like day one when you've actually got your class, and you're like, oh my god, I'm not in training anymore. What were the things I struggle with? For me, one of the biggest ones, genuinely, even though you obviously would have done this in your training, was just maybe a bit more guidance on like how to be adaptable with your planning and to your actual class. Like, because I know I had the class, and I know you have your mentor and you're taking on their class. They'll obviously tell you things about the kids. Yep. But when it came down to like just being left alone, it's like, here's your new class list. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't really know where to start. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what do I actually plan now based on this bit of data that I've been given about these kids? Because last time I did this, a teacher sat down for an hour and told me everything about them because they'd already been teaching them for 2 terms. And I'd just come in and they were guiding me through so much that I didn't really get a chance to think about it. And I just felt very much on the spot of like, cool, so what do I do?
Yeah.
Even if I had last year's planning, if you're lucky enough to be in a school where it's like, here's last year's planning, pick it up and adapt it. Cool. How do I do that? Because I don't really know, because all I've done is write 3-page lesson plans, as part of my teacher training. on a bunch of kids where someone's just very much guided me through that, told me about the kids already. I didn't really know what to do.
But did they do that the whole way through? Surely towards the end of the year, you were absolutely doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, towards the end of the year you were, but by that point you already knew the kids. Like, I don't know, it's just almost new experience of like, I kind of wish I'd just been sat down and maybe there was like an hour seminar or something one time where it's like, right, this is how you interpret some data.
And maybe more so, I guess the impression I'm getting here that would help you a lot more is how to navigate September specifically.
Yeah, exactly
how to navigate like a brand new cohort, which is coming to you and now it's completely your choice, because over your year of training, absolutely right, like you kind of embed your way through and you know the kids so well by the time you start doing any adaptation. Yeah. So in September, when you start and you say, right, here's your cohort, off you go, it's like, oh my gosh, what does this look like? How long do I spend getting to know the kids? And then what do I adapt, or do I adapt immediately?
Exactly.
So a September start thing.
Yeah. And I remember being near the start of the year and someone from SLT, maybe the head teacher, coming in and just trying to give me a bit of feedback and support and being like, we haven't really differentiated, you know, down. So you haven't differentiated for this like group of children properly, sort of, because they're kind of different ability. And I just remember thinking, I just don't know. I was like, I've differentiated it 3 ways. I've got like a middle ability one, a high ability, and a low ability. I was like, I don't really know what you want me to do.
The best way around that is just to plan a quality lesson where you don't differentiate by sheets and colors and stuff, and kids just get as far as they get. But I think back when you qualified, there was an obsession with a red sheet and an orange sheet and a green sheet and a blue sheet and a purple sheet and a double purple sheet, just in case. It's like, oh my God,
they weren't right. I did that, and even that was like they were basically, what they were saying was, you've kind of done it off the cut. You've done it because you think the policy is to do this, whereas what I want you to do is actually look at the children you've got and to plan accordingly for them. And I just didn't know how to do it. It was embarrassing.
Sounds like dodgy policy then. Actually, what you've done there, mate, is you followed the policy instead of actually following what the kids need. It's like, well, you've just exposed yourself there.
Yeah, potentially.
So there's 2 things, I suppose, what we spoke about there. Like, I think more in-depth knowledge of different needs from children, spotting them early. September start, how to actually, how quickly you should spend getting to know your kids and how to adapt, etc. And I think the last one that I'll put in there for 3, so you don't have to think of more than one.
Yeah, I've done one. Mate,
is absolutely teachers knowing their rights a lot more from day one.
Yeah.
Like during teacher training, we talked about that. People always mention the Burgundy Book. It seems like an old school thing to say now, but know your rights. Oh my goodness me. You should finish teacher training and you should absolutely know what is acceptable and unacceptable and exactly what your job title is and what your expectations are and what your contract says and what you can push back on. Because I feel like what happens a lot in teacher training, and I've got messages from people, I got one message from someone who said they were on a teacher training course. They went there as a mentor and there was a bunch of like brand new cohort of teachers. And one of the lecturers said to the whole group of new teachers that teaching is a love, and you should put your life into it, and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out. So make it your thing. Don't be afraid to put extra hours in. Do as much as you can. And this mentor was just horrified because it's this classic thing of like ECTs and new teachers are put down this pipeline of do more, do loads, put yourself through it. It's amazing. Yeah, push yourself. Yeah, it's going to be hard sometimes, but that's what teaching is. It's like, no. You need to know. You need to know your boundaries. And if you choose as a new teacher to go above and beyond, that's fantastic. But even the most basic level of doing the job, you're already going above and beyond. Just know that. Just understand that. And knowing your rights doesn't mean you do nothing all year. Knowing your rights means you understand what your contract is. You understand how you're already going above and beyond that just by doing the job of being a teacher.
Yeah.
And then not being gaslit into thinking you need to give up another 10 hours of your week because you just don't.
Yeah. Understanding expectations on you. It's the baseline, isn't it? I definitely had no baseline. When I started teaching, I was like, it's infinite. I feel like I went through training that was exactly like what you just described. It was very much just, pour your life into it. You got an hour free in the evening, dedicated to teaching. You got 2 hours free at the weekend, dedicated to teaching. Do as much time as you can on teaching. There is no baseline. I did not know that for years. It took me years to establish that, and now here we are. Saying to everyone, I guess we're just thinking of our younger selves and just thinking, actually, I wish I did. Do you know what? I probably still would have done, honestly, 99% of the things that I did.
100%.
So I did it because I enjoyed it. Exactly. But I didn't do it knowing that actually there was a certain baseline. I did it thinking this is what everyone in teaching should be doing.
Exactly.
It was toxic. My mindset was toxic.
Yeah. And I was toxic to a degree because I remember thinking, oh, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I am. I'm obviously a better teacher. No, not at all. They've got their head screwed on. They know what's important. They do what's important. Yeah, it's vital. Yeah. So those are the 3. I think they're really good additions, and I think they should be implemented, actually, Mr. DFE person who's listening to this podcast. Why don't you do that right now?
Okay, next question. Can you support with ideas for career changes if you're thinking of leaving the profession? Not a decision I'm taking lightly, but I just feel it's the right thing to do for my well-being.
Okay, so firstly, I think you moved into the expected standard of reading. Well done. Much. We've got a better flow. I think you could do a bit more intonation.
Yeah, a little bit more. Okay.
So something to work on. But I think you're on the cusp of expected there. Well done. In terms of career changes, we get this question so much. I think because people have kind of also taken account that we've left the profession ourselves, and what are you doing now, guys? How are you surviving? How are you paying your mortgage?
Yeah.
So in terms of career changes, there's a few routes to go down. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Well, I'll give you that feedback right back now. Maybe you can learn that. That is below standard.
I'm not even reading that.
I'm sorry.
This is my oracy.
You're not even doing the reading bit. This is below.
I think there's a couple roads to go down. One is you can try and stay in education. We kind of cultivated that a little bit of our tutoring company. So 2 years into our teaching, 3 years for you, 2 for me, we started our tutoring company back in 2018, and that kind of grew on the side. It was like, a teacher's side hustle. It was like, but it grew and it grew and it grew, and it got to the point where, of course, it would be a pay cut to quit teaching, but it could supplement our income for a while whilst we went part-time. And then eventually it was the kind of thing where we're saying, well, do you know what? It'll pay our bills. Okay. We can take this leap into quitting teaching. We started the podcast a few years ago, not remote. I had someone comment the other day saying, what can I do if I want to leave teaching? Any help, please? And someone else replied saying, start an Instagram and a podcast, apparently. And I had to reply. I replied to that one, like, I can assure you that this is not anywhere close
paying your mortgage,
to paying my salary from my UPS teaching role that I used to have.
Yeah.
So this isn't necessarily the hugest money maker in the world for us, but it's another something we can focus on and grow. And I think, if you're looking to get out of teaching, you could maybe start thinking about, what can I do on the side just to supplement my income a bit?
Yeah.
Even if it means you can end up dropping a day or dropping 2 days in your teaching career, that time is vital. And it's time, isn't it? I think it's time. If you're thinking about career changes and you don't want to lose your income, well, you need to train up in something, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a friend who was full-time working as an estate agent, spent his evenings training up to be a cloud engineer for Amazon software and stuff. Did that in his evenings after his baby went to bed. Spent hours so long doing it. And now he's in a job, much better salary, much better well-being, has half day on a Friday. Amazing.
Yeah.
Crack on. It's the kind of thing you need to put in. So I think, you have to put the time in. If you want to keep your salary similar, there's most jobs you're going to have to do a little bit of training or take a cut to begin with, for sure.
Definitely.
That's if you're coming out of education. If you're staying in education, try and do a little side thing. But have you got any advice? You've literally quit teaching.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group that I've been in for years, right? And I'll give you a couple of stories from it, genuinely just from recently. It's called Life After Teaching UK or something. It's
huge,
like that,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a big group, and there's a few others as well. Facebook's great for just groups of people that are similar to you.
Isn't it interesting how you've been in that group for a long time?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why, actually, because I genuinely have been in that group for like 5 or 6 years.
Well, obviously, in the back of your mind, you were thinking, something pops
I think I was just just interested as well.
It's good to know, isn't it? I think people should know their options.
I was always interested. What do people do outside of this? Like, do you have to stay in education? And honestly, the answer is no. I've seen a few things recently. One really popular post was about working for the council. I was like, that's really interesting. A lot of people transition from this group anyway, from working in schools to working in the council, and they're like, oh, it's loads of transferable skills. I've worked my way. One person was like, I've worked my way up now. I've been working with the council 5 years, and I'm on more money now than I was in teaching,
right?
Because I'm in some really like big wig role. And I was like, that's really cool. Another person put on there the other day saying, I got a job. They were like, I took a pay cut, but it didn't last for very long. Right. I got a job. It was like Need Financial Planning. It was like a financial advisory place.
Yeah.
And mentioned Need Financial Planning in a while.
Yeah, well, that my good friend, Mr. Need Financial Planning, his ears will prick up.
He'll be loving this. Yeah, it was him. No, it wasn't. But this person was saying, and they were talking about how, and it's what I liked about this post, they were talking about how they were praised so much in this job, despite it being literally nothing to do with teaching kids, purely from the transferable skills of working hard and how quickly you can pick up stuff. Because with teaching, I think
you find teachers are bloody lazy.
Yeah, actually, and they don't have to think about anything. But as a teacher, you're constantly analysing and thinking and adapting on the spot, and you just get better and better at that. I think you don't even realise how good you get at that. So this person was saying, and other people were agreeing, like, I walked into this other job and people were just amazed at how quickly I picked everything up and how good I was at this new skill that normally takes longer. And they were just, bigging up the fact that teaching's got great transferable skills. You don't even have to stay in education. Just look around. You can probably walk into another job and very quickly train up to be a really good standard in that new career.
I think that's a big thing, I'd say. But a lot of people are turned off by taking a salary cut. Just look at the progression. Honestly, just look at it. Like try and look at it as like a 3 to 5 year plan at least.
Yeah.
And think, well, if in 3 to 5 years, if I'm successful, where will I be? Because it'll probably be past teaching. And another huge thing that comes up loads of people are leaving is the civil service, almost similar to what you're saying about the council. Working in the civil service, because you get a lot of flexi work, a lot of working from home. A lot of new mums move over to the civil service and do jobs there. And yeah, that's quite a time consuming process to apply. So like, it's the kind of thing to look into, like literally now, like you join that group. And yeah, just on us, you know, edtech's a thing as well. You know, edtech is huge. Lots of people move into edtech. And we're spending a lot of our time, as we talked about last week, had a lot of nice responses last week about our maths platform. A lot of people who want to be using it, talking about arithmetic. So yeah, that's really exciting. And we'll keep you guys updated with what we're working on with that. So there's so much out there is what I'm saying. Like, you know, don't think that you're trapped in teaching. No. It is very common to think that, and the salary and the time. Do you know what? Some people can be trapped in a job. And I'm not here to say, no, you just pull your bootstraps up and work hard in the evenings.
Take a pay cut and do this.
Yeah, it's not realistic for some people at all. So if you're in that position, I'm sorry, you know, do what you can, listen to our podcast and how you can help your well-being, etc., and push back on stuff. But if you're even got a smidgen of like a chance to do something, my advice would be, oh my goodness, do it, because you can come back to teaching.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, Hayden, what is your opinion on the increase in homeschooling?
Well, firstly, I would say there has been a significant increase in homeschooling, particularly from 2020. I wonder why. What happened in that era?
Think?
Yeah, it's been a huge increase. And I see it a lot more online. I see it a lot more in the news and generally in media. People with parents coming out and saying, "I'm homeschooling my child now, and you should be doing this as well." My guttural reaction to that was, as a teacher, I was like, "No, you shouldn't be doing. No. It feels like a personal attack. No. Why are you taking them out of school? No. I'm the best placed for them to be. I'm the teacher. I'm an expert." And that's generally, honestly, like how I feel about that. Until I just sit down and actually just think about it, not in a selfish way, and think, why would someone want to do this?
Hard for you to do that.
Really hard for me to do it. It took me many years to think about other people.
I'm not going to think about myself first.
Yes. Why wouldn't you want to be in my class, every single person in the UK? Well, I'll tell you why. Firstly, as we talk about a lot on this podcast, funding has gone through the floor, like in terms of for schools.
I love that.
Through the floor.
Yeah, really switch that around.
Yeah, not through the roof, baby. Through the floor and down a few floors as well. But funding is awful, and I think parents are, particularly from having to homeschool their children during like COVID times.
Sure.
Parents are way more aware now. Firstly, of the fact that there is an option there, like homeschooling might actually be a viable option that works. They might have worked really well for their child during that time. Secondly, when they put them back into school and they're suddenly more aware of the fact that there is just no money for anything and there's no provision, especially if your child needs literally anything out of the ordinary that isn't just, you know, you're just turning up to school and they're just with their class teacher all day. People are just so much more hyper aware now of the fact that there just isn't any money in education. And if your child needs any extra support, there is a good chance that they're not getting that to the fullest that they should be. Maybe even like a couple of decades ago, they would have absolutely got this support and this funding and this group and this one-to-one TA, not for two people. Just stuff like that, genuinely. And parents are just being like, this system is not working for my child anymore.
Yeah.
SEND parents in particular, I think we're seeing a huge surge in people being like, no, I'm just taking my child out of this school because this is not helping them.
But does taking them out of school help them?
This is a huge, I think it's a really tricky one, because I think there's a massive case to say it's still the best place for them. Well, even though it's worse.
For everyone?
Not for everyone.
Right,
I think on a case-by-case situation, I don't think you can make any blanket statements of, oh yeah, for SEND children, take them out of school, you'll do a better job. That's not true.
Yeah.
Some people will.
Yeah.
Some people will do an incredible job with their own children that makes school look like a joke.
Yeah.
Other people won't.
Yeah, and also not even that they won't, like it's their fault. It's just like that child will literally still get more of what they need. Maybe not every single thing of what we need, and we can talk about how the plight of SEND parents fighting for what their kids need, etc., is still a really important issue, and children should get what they need. But school can still be the better place to be.
100%. And in my personal opinion, I do think that's probably true a lot of the time. Is school is still, even though it's not ideal, it probably is the better place to be. Because there just is more. There's more stuff there.
There's still stuff involved.
There's still stuff involved, right? But I can totally sympathise with the rising dissatisfaction with school, and I always took that really personally. Like I said, I was always very much like, no, we shouldn't be doing this. This is the best place to be. We're the experts. Who do you think you are, undermining I've trained for 3 years. I've been working in this for 10 years, and you're just a parent who doesn't work in education. How could you possibly think that this is better than what I do?
We just talked about how we finished teacher training and don't feel remotely prepared for SEND. So it's like that argument's gone. It's just gone. I'm sorry. Your average new teacher is not an expert in everything. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And it could well be that your child is not in the best place. And I think it's such a stretch to say, like, it's just wrong to say school's the best place for everyone. Like, just thinking about it for 2 seconds, even just logically, of course it's not. Of course it can't be. Like, even for lots of children who do well in school, there's still a bunch of kids who don't necessarily need to come out of school, but school's still not working for them. And then there's a whole other bunch of kids who should come out of school because it's probably better for them in general. There's been a lot of talk recently about safeguarding, and there's been a few examples of children kind of being lost in the system a little bit when they're taken out of school, and some safeguarding issues around. I think that is clearly a worry, and we don't want that to happen. But I think then tarring home education with that brush of, oh, it's not safe for kids, I think that's just bizarre. Like, because what we're saying there is that children aren't safe in their own home. It's like, well, what a strange thing to say. That's clearly not true for all kids. As a teacher, what I will do is, absolutely, I will sit here and say, for some children, homeschooling is not only a good thing but necessary. But I will also absolutely sit here and say, yeah, but don't completely kill off schools. Don't completely talk them down and say they're broken for everyone and the system's terrible and we're indoctrinating the kids and it's just terrible for everyone involved. No, it's not. School is a fantastic place for so many kids, and when it turns into that, I'm like, cool, okay, gloves are off. Then we'll talk about all the cons of homeschooling if you want to, or we can have an adult conversation about how there are pros and cons to both, and case by case we should talk about it. But I've seen some people who really champion home education. It's fantastic, but then a few of those same people will attack schools constantly. And it's like, okay, you might have had a bad experience with a school, that's fine, and there's a place for that voice. I really do think there's a place for that voice, because you should be highlighting the drawbacks of school and the issues they have. But then when someone just says blanketly, it would be like I was saying blanketly, all SLT are horrible, all SLT are toxic, never listen to SLT, it's horrendous. I would never say that.
No.
And I'd be the first person to say that. I've worked with amazing leaders, but I'm still going to highlight the issues. Those people who go further and then say we should abolish the school system completely and it's completely broken and teachers are just rubbish and they're awful, that's obviously just daft. And I would push back on that, and I'd say, look, let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about how we can improve schools for sure to get more children back into the school system where it would be better for them, while still giving the option for homeschooling. I think all of these things should exist, but when it becomes one versus the other and blanket statements about both, home education is always bad, it's not safe for the children at home, versus schools are terrible, they're indoctrinating your kids and teachers are useless and they don't know anything. You're both wrong.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. There has to be a space for a bit of nuance in this conversation. So what do you think then, like when, you know, that I don't know the exact stats, but there has been a significant rise in homeschooling since 2020. Do you think that's justified? Do you think that comes with any do you think there should be any changes to policy with this? Do you think we should be a bit more careful? We've got way more children at home now. Do you think that does justify people saying, well, actually, we do need to up safeguarding measures at home? Like, what's your just opinions on the fact that it has just risen? Yeah,
safeguarding with kids is paramount. It's number one. And if we look at any situation, we think safeguarding might have got worse because of X, Y, or Z, we should be looking at ways of helping that. I think they're introducing some kind of homeschooling register now, which is basically just like you at least have to register your child. I don't know the ins and outs, so I'm not going to go into detail here, but they're introducing something just to keep people a bit more accountable of having fewer children slip through the net, basically. And people have pushed back and said, it's my kid, I'll do what I want. I was like, yeah, but can you understand why this is a good thing? Can you understand why this is happening? The only reason is because maybe it's not for your kid. Maybe your kid would be fine. Your kid would probably be fine. But what about those 10 kids who aren't going to be fine? Let's look after them just by having this register. Like, you just get over it. Just do it.
It's true, isn't it? Because if you think about it just logically, making it easier and more normalized to take your children out of school where they are like heavily protected through like unbelievable layers of safeguarding, making it more easy to do that is obviously going to open the door to the idea that bad things are happening as well, like safeguarding issues actually happening outside of school. Well, of course that's going to come hand in hand with it. Not everyone. We're not saying to that one person who's, well, my kid will be fine. Yeah, I know. Okay, that's fine. Your kid will be fine. But making it more normal and more easy to just take kids out of school is obviously going to bring issues as well. Like, we really should be thinking of safeguarding these children at like the most.
Think of all the training we've had on, prevent radicalization, FGM, things like that. And it's like, okay, like, we can pick up on those things as a school if we see different patterns.
Yes.
Maybe they're out of school for a bit longer than they are normally and they come back and maybe the child's a bit more reserved. And you think, oh, where did you go? Maybe you went here. Looking out for those signs of a child changing the way they behave and, oh, I wonder what they're consuming in their social media. Maybe their parents are missing, etc.
The way they talk to the other kids and the teachers, how they've been radicalized, what they're saying, what their sentences, all of this.
Exactly. It's more adults and more people in a place of looking out for your child. And by taking them out of that, you're just reducing the number. Like you are just reducing the number of people who are looking out for them in that way. And it's not saying that that's going to be bad, definitely for your child. But what it's going to say is that overall, clearly, there's less protection for children in general. And clearly, it's okay, I think, to be having conversations of if it's the conversation starts with how can we ensure children stay as safe as possible. Who's got a problem with that conversation? Honestly, like if you feel attacked by that, what's wrong with you? Just to open that dialogue. Maybe defend why you think it's not necessary through the lens of still because it's going to keep children safe in this other way. Talk about that, but don't just say, oh, it's automatically bad because my rights are being stripped away and I can't do this with my kid. Get over it, honestly. We're just looking out for the children.
Yeah, I agree. Do you thinking of like learning now, because obviously safeguarding is a huge thing. I think we've addressed that. Thinking about literally learning specifically, do you like... What's your opinion? Do you think there are massive drawbacks in general? We are just talking. I know we've all established that it's fine. There's different situations, but as a blanket thing, do you think there's any drawbacks to literally just education for the child if they're being pulled out of school all the time?
I was thinking about this as well because we concentrated on SEND, which is a big reason why people leave. I'm going to talk about anyone now, anyone at all who leaves. Not even because the parent might think they're going to get a more rounded education because of it. I think you can. How on earth can we sit here again and talk about how school trips have been decimated? You don't get to go anywhere anymore. We can talk about, holidays are really expensive in summer holidays, and your kid can't go away and just have a break with their family and a core memory unless it costs the parents 3 times as much. You can take them away in term time with the home educated. You can do what you want. I think there's so much to be said how you can get so much out of home education in ways that you can't get out of school. All of those things we just mentioned there. I think school comes with lots of pros as well that you will miss out on. Like you being out of school maybe means that a child won't get bullied anymore, and it's way better for them with home education. Being out of school might mean that a child literally is isolated through socializing, and it means that they don't get that bond anymore. So it's a negative for one and a positive for another child. I think you have to look at it as the whole picture. And I think again, just saying, well, if you're in school, you learn more. Not necessarily. Genuinely, the amount. If I think about what I've taught half of my days, which is in the afternoon, all the topic stuff, the science, the geography, the history, etc. You could learn most of that through reading books or just chatting with your family or watching a specific education video or going on a trip. Going to the Roman baths in Bath would teach you nearly everything you need to know about the Romans. So you've got an idea. Cool. Oh, it's not exactly what we did in our scheme of work, which was not even in the curriculum, but our scheme of work said this. So who cares? Like you can get so much more out of it. I think basic maths, like there's a lot of the maths curriculum we literally say is not necessary and we teach it in school still. Well, that's obviously pointless. Oh, your kid misses the Roman numerals lesson. So like, that's fine. But does your child need a good working knowledge of place value, of number, of adding, of subtracting? Also, yes. And you know what? I am an expert at teaching that and the parent won't be. So I am better at doing that for your child, but it's a pro and a con. It's a give and a take. And I think it's just, you have to assess it yourself for your child. It might be better for your child. You know the drawbacks, you know the positives, and you might think, you know what, for my kid though, this is going to work for them. And I think the person often best placed to make that call is the parent.
Yeah, of course.
And as teachers, we need to step back sometimes, I think, and just be like, okay, you've made that call. My voice is important because I am still a professional educator and I know that your child will miss out on these things. But as a parent, you're telling me they're not going to get bullied as much. They're going to go on more trips away. They're going to get more experience of life and the world in a different respect.
A curriculum. They would much prefer a curriculum where we get to do X, Y, and Z, and this school doesn't do that because maybe maths and English isn't their thing.
Right.
Maths and English is important, but maybe it's not their thing. And actually, not 60% of school is just doing maths and English. And for them, it's like, no, do you know what? I will teach them maths and English through this vessel of doing all these practical things because that's what they actually enjoy. You as a school, you cannot provide that. I'm really sorry. It's nothing to do with you, school. There is no funding. I know you can't take my kid on any trips and do literally anything fun ever. So I'm going to take my kid out and we're going to do it this way. And you just, at that point, you have to go, yep, cool, they're not my child.
Yeah.
So I've had my opinion. You've got your opinion, but it is your child. So, okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. And here's a bunch of safeguarding stuff that we put in place for this reason. Because actually, regardless of it being your child or not my child, safeguarding is still important regardless of that anyway. So this new measure that has to come in. You've got to adhere to that.
But have fun. And I honestly wish the best for your kid. Because as a teacher, what do I want? I want the best for every child. And that means for some children not being in the school system. And that is just a fact. And that's where I sit with that. I think
it's a very mature conclusion to come to, because I definitely like even just a couple of years ago, I would have been way more on the side of no, they should be at school. School is the best place for everyone. I was very much down that trap.
You've grown up.
grown. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got self-centered.
Well, I'm homeschooled now. I've actually left the schooling system myself.
We've come out of the school system. Right. If people enjoy the episode, they can leave us a review wherever you're listening to your podcast. It really helps us out. Share it with someone you think might find it useful. And if they have any questions you want to submit for the future, join our WhatsApp group. The community is down below. It's completely free. You only get messages from us. It's a great time to be in our WhatsApp community. Hayden, before we finish, anything to say?
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next week.